And we are live.
Welcome, welcome, episode 31, The Loose Lug Nuts. I, Tom Willoughby, am the definition of just happy to be here. It has been a rough 8 days for me, but I am absolutely just happy to be here. Literally, thank the good Lord for seeing me through everything I've been through the last 8 days. And special thanks to everyone who reached out to me, prayed for me, uh, sent me a message, wished me well, whatever it was. Thank you so much. Glad to be here. And I'm especially glad to have these two guys with me, Aaron Simmons, Zachary Brandevold. Zach, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm glad to have you back, Tom. It's nice to see your face. Um, you know, I'm excited to talk about racing with you once again.
Me too. Me too. Aaron, what about you? What's going on in Tennessee?
Well, it's still hot. It's still wet. It's like I never left Florida, but I'm not seeing the beach anymore. Um, I did really enjoy last week. God, I needed that so bad. But I had a blast. Went back to work. I didn't want to be there at all, but I still went. I pushed myself to carry on. But you know what? And I share the same sentiments with Zach. Tom, I'm so glad you're here. Glad you're back. Glad you're still upright and still want to talk about racing with us. So I'm glad you're back, buddy.
I am glad to be here. So glad to be here. I have quite a story to tell for many years to come. But let's get into the racing because hopefully, I've got many, many years to share all the stories of what happened the last 8 days. But they were at Darlington, the track too tough to tame, and it absolutely lived up to its billing of the track too tough to tame. More so in the Cup race, probably than the Xfinity race. But let's talk about Xfinity. Oddly enough, people who had trouble early on, such as Kyle Larson, who was just struggling with the handling of the car, Noah Gragson, who potentially had a brake line going down, they were the guys who were there at the end. And just to kind of, uh, they had a little bit of everything. Stage two, we had wrecking under the yellow, and we had rain. We had Fast Pasta and Anthony Alfredo, best nickname in NASCAR, Fast Pasta. He absolutely slams Nemechek under yellow. Riley Herbst hit the wall. It's raining cats and dogs. Drivers aren't liking the caution, but they get it. JJ Yaley up in flames. All that was the undercard. The main show in the Xfinity race was the last 4 laps. You had Sheldon Creed trying to race his way into the playoffs. You had Kyle Larson trying to work on his game for the Cup race and giving it all he had. And you had Noah Gragson lurking around there. And what was an epic battle, a classic Darlington battle, you had contact, you had people into the wall, you had tires going down. In the end, it was Noah Gragson who prevailed, kind of because Kyle Larson and Sheldon Creed kind of got into each other. At one point, it did look to me like after Kyle Larson made contact, he kind of backed off Sheldon Creed and gave him the spot back. But I think then Sheldon Creed had a tire going down, which allowed Gragson to take the win. But I'll tell you what, how about Sheldon Creed? His only hope with that tire going down coming into turn 3 of the last lap, video game it, baby. Mash the gas, put it in the wall, and just see if you can ride that wall all the way to the start-finish line. It didn't quite work with him, but it almost did, and it was a valiant effort. If you haven't seen the finish, please watch the highlights. It was a fantastic finish. So, Xfinity race, what are your guys' thoughts?
I mean, I think it's very fitting that Sheldon Creed tried to pull the exact same move that Kyle Larson did a year ago against Denny Hamlin. I mean, it honestly, if it weren't for Noah Gragson really kind of getting his car back underneath him, it could have worked, which is going to be awesome. But yeah, I mean, it just felt like the race was just kind of more so bland throughout the race with little sprinklings of what just happened or oh my gosh, this is awesome racing. But I do got to give a quick shout out to the 44 car. I can't remember what driver he is because I'm a bad person, but Hendrick. That's how you do a throwback. That car was awesome looking. Oh my god! When that thing comes out with a diecast, I'll be the first one in line to get it. It looked, oh my god, it looks so good.
That was Ryan Ellis.
Ryan Ellis. Okay. Yeah. Yep. I just looked at his name. But oh my gosh, I swear to God, for a few brief seconds, I saw that flame paint scheme. I seriously thought Jeff Gordon was back on the track. Now I just did not notice. But
that definitely wins, in my opinion, throwback of the year.
Yeah, that wins, hands down.
For sure.
Zach, what did you think of the Xfinity race?
Man, I didn't get to catch most of it. I did watch the finish there. I felt like if Sheldon Creed, I felt like he didn't have to video game it there in the end. I felt like it potentially could have been another iconic Darlington finish, like we saw with Kurt Busch and was it Kenny Strader? I'm not sure. I forget the other driver, but anyway, could have been one of those fantastic finishes, but he video gamed it and it did not work whatsoever. It slowed him down so much, especially on the exit. But still, I think it was a good finish. Good for excuse me, good for Gregson getting that win. Creed second place. I think he should have won it, but if him and Larson were battling, I definitely think Creed was going to win. I don't think Larson was just going to give up that easily, though. It was interesting to see, like you mentioned earlier, that Larson did lift a little bit to allow Creed to get himself back together, which I think was pretty commendable and allowed for a pretty fantastic finish. Ricky Craven, thank you. I should have known that.
Okay, now I think that Creed, and maybe didn't get it right here, he did the whole end of the wall thing because he had a tire going down.
He did.
That I think he had a front tire going down, and there's no way he could drive it at speed, so he just decided to ride the wall.
I mean,
maybe I don't know.
It just about worked. It just about worked,
but that's what they were saying on the broadcast. I think that he had a tire go down.
Yeah, very possible.
Sounds like you heard that too, didn't you, Aaron?
I heard there's a rear wheel going down, but either way,
I know there was contact. There was contact, so I'm not surprised if that was the case. But I didn't know if he thought that maybe Gregson was going to have better speed on the bottom and maybe set it up there as a last-ditch effort. I don't know. But regardless, still a great finish.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I wouldn't go as far to say best finish of the decade, but that was a definite contender for best finish of the decade. So we got a lot of years left.
Anytime you got two guys battling it out for the white flag, and then the third place car ends up winning, 9 times out of 10, it might be a good finish.
Yep.
But to your point earlier, Aaron, I wonder if this is going to be one of those races where it's going to be remembered as a classic race, and really the race wasn't that good start to finish, but the last 4 laps were classic.
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly kind of how these races kind of go nowadays. It's boring, but if the lead pack is that close together, it's going to be a good finish, regardless of how you string it up. And honestly, if I remember right, that's how the 2003 Darlington race ended up happening. It wasn't necessarily that memorable until like the final 50 laps or so, but those last 50 laps, they were very entertaining to watch.
Yeah, that nobody could tell you what happened in the first 325 miles of that race.
No.
Yeah.
But the last 10, they can remember to you in detail what happened.
Okay, so speaking of Cup races, let's go on to the Southern 500, the Cup show. First race of the playoffs for the Cup drivers. Second year in a row that the opening round of the playoffs has been absolutely devastating for some playoff heavy hitters. Chase Elliott involved in a wreck and I think winds up last place. Kevin Harvick started off, I think, fairly far back in the pack, had 2 problems on pit road, had overcome both of them, had worked his way almost inside of the top 5, and the car literally catches on fire. Didn't appear to have an engine blow up, didn't appear to have contact with anybody. The car just literally catches on fire. So I don't know if that is a freak thing or that is a next gen car thing, but when you don't have anything break on the car, you don't have any contact, and it catches on fire, wow. And you combine that with the fact that he had 2 problems on pit road, it's kind of like, Kevin, it's just not your night, buddy. But he was making his way through the field and had a fast car. Speaking of fast cars, Kyle Busch looked like he was the dominant car, and engine goes out on him. Engine blows up, I think, under caution, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Kyle Larson, engine problems, but was able to keep going and actually finished on the lead lap. Not a playoff contender, but Martin Truex, certainly a superstar of the sport, also looked like he had the race won and had engine problems. So it's like if you were out front until it was the very end, that was not the place to be, because that was like you were going to be cursed. Other things that went on raised more concerns about this next-gen car. Kevin Harvick's fire may have been attributable to a faulty design. Drivers are continuing to complain that the accidents are more painful than in the old car, and that the crash data is not reflecting just how painful some of these accidents are. And if you doubt me, just look at Kurt Busch's concussion and his recovery time. In the end, though, speaking of classics at Darlington, after Kyle Busch's engine expires, Eric Jones, who has been a contender probably in more races this year than the 43 car has been a contender in the last 5 years, if not 10, inherits the lead, drives a flawless last probably 25 to 30 laps, whatever that last green flag run was, gets the win for Petty GMS, first win since Eric Almirola in 2014 at Daytona. Exactly 55 years to the day since Richard Petty won the Southern 500 in 1967. And it was the 200th win for the number 43 team, with Richard Petty owning 192 of those wins. But yeah, 200th win for the 43 team. Congratulations. I don't think there was anybody that was unhappy about seeing Eric Jones in the 43 car roll into victory lane at Darlington. So very much a feel-good story for an underdog winning. So with that being said, what were your guys' thoughts on the Cup race? Let's start with you, Aaron, since I think Zach went first last time.
Actually, I went first last time.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Zach, you go first.
I will go. I thought it was a really, really good race, in my opinion. To me, I think the new car, one of the, in a roundabout way, I think that the new car definitely does not work, in my opinion, as well as far as a racing goes, passing, than the old car at Darlington specifically. It's one of the few races this year where we've kind of seen the new car not do as well when matched up on similar tracks. So I just didn't like the way the passing happened. There wasn't as much, in my opinion. But still, overall, I think it was a decent race. I got a feel for Martin Truex Jr., in my opinion. Man has been in a position to win a race almost, I want to say 75% of the races this season, and has not come home with a win. And yet again, this is another thing, not his fault, out of his control. And he was in a position to win late in the race. And just like Kyle Busch, just crazy, in my opinion, how all that has turned out. Kyle Busch as well. But I also just, terrible luck for Martin Truex Jr. I mean, he has to win one of these at some point, in my opinion. And then Yeah, Toyota was definitely the story. Whatever happened to Kyle Busch, whatever happened to Martin Truex Jr., you had Chase Elliott involved in the wreck early, which was pretty shocking. I mean, right now when you look at it, he had that big points buffer. You with that big of a points buffer, you get one mulligan, and this is your chance. You can't screw up any of these next two races, even if you have a good Kansas running. You got to be worried a little bit if you're heading into Bristol, because that's definitely something that you have to watch. You can't have two bad races in a row if you're Chase Elliott. But yeah, Kevin Harvick, he has been something. I think probably the most pissed that I've seen him in a very, very, very long time. And I don't think he's wrong, in my opinion. But I think we'll discuss that a little bit later.
Most pissed you've seen Kevin Harvick since Bristol last year.
Maybe. Yeah.
I can tell you the last time he was that pissed.
Well,
it was Bristol last year, and it was at a driver of a certain number 9 car is who he was angry with.
I'm just saying this is something that he can control nowadays. You can't touch anything on the car without NASCAR fining you $10,000 and several points. So this, I could see him being even more pissed off about, because it's not something that the team nor him can control. They're at NASCAR's mercy.
Yeah. His crew chief, Rodney Childers, was not any happier about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't. And we'll get to that here later. But
what do you think, Aaron?
Quickly, my thoughts. I'm going back to Martin Truex Jr. here for a second. And he is a perfect example of why this playoff system is dumb and stupid and should be getting rid of entirely. Because I will not elaborate, but here's a good exhibit A as to why this playoff system is dumb. For Martin Truex Jr. this year, again, out of the playoffs, not in, finished 4th in the regular season point standings, 7-stage win, most of all drivers heading into Darlington, 13.2 average finish, second best behind Chase Elliott, who was your regular season points champion, by the way, and has led 456 laps, 6th most, up to Darlington. And he's not in. He is ineligible to run for the championship. But yet, Austin Dillon is mid-pack driver, won one race, again, with a ginormous asterisk on it. He's racing for a cup. I mean, okay, look. I will break it down like this. NASCAR is trying to give the mid-pack and back markers a chance to at least get some screen time, and I'm all for that. But this right here, for what Martin Truex has gone through his entire career, to have the system basically break, that's what did Carl Edwards in. It's just a broken system has screwed him over time and time again. And that's why this playoff system is so dumb. It is stupid, and it's bad. And I believe there was, Mike Cora. I've never seen Truex so down and out in an interview. I don't blame him, because that Darlington race was pretty much a sum up of his 2022 career so far this season. Has a chance to win, has the best car, looks like he could contend, and then something goes wrong at the end, and he's out of it. I mean, God, that's heartbreaking. But yeah, that's my little take on it.
I will have to argue that all the teams knew that you would have to get a win, or well, it's a win and you're in playoffs. They agreed to it,
which is dumb.
I will say that. It's shocking to me that they haven't won, and so many other people have. And I would argue that a lot of those wins, other than if you want to discount Austin Dillon's win, sure, okay. But I would say the majority of the race wins this year have been legitimate. I mean, for the most part, maybe Ross Chastain's first win, where he absolutely pummeled it, AJ Allmendinger and Bowman to win. I mean, we've had a couple instances like that this year, but still.
Yeah, but do you really think Austin Dillon's going to do anything in the playoffs? No. Honestly, I think Michael McDowell can do more in the playoffs than what Austin Dillon can right now. But yet McDowell's on race for a championship. Truex is race for a championship. Austin Dillon is.
Austin's only 4 points out of the top, out of the cutoff, or below the cutoff. So you never know. Never say never.
One of the only ones that hasn't had a mechanical problem all day at Darlington.
You got
to just survives.
You got to understand, Aaron. This playoff format is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is creating drama. Okay, it is creating excitement because you are tuning in because Martin Truex Jr., a Hall of Fame driver, having a fantastic season, fourth in points, has to win to get in. You're tuning in because of that, okay? If he's locked in and the only people who have a chance to get in are the second-tier drivers that probably can't do anything even if they do get in, it's not nearly as dramatic. So the playoff system to me is doing exactly what it is designed to do. I'm not saying I necessarily like it, but I'm saying it is doing what it was designed to do.
Yeah.
So, okay. But back to the race, I want to say something here, okay, about the finish, okay? And I have no idea why my camera's got me so fuzzy here. It's like it can't focus on me. But yeah, this whole thing here, that's the point I was going to bring up, Mike. Denny Hamlin had a chance to wreck Eric Jones to win it. I think he was close enough. He could have gone full send on the last lap, put Jones in the wall, and possibly grabbed the win. He didn't do that. I remember a quote from Denny Hamlin last year when he said, "I have never wrecked anybody to win a race." I went back and looked it up and watched. He has never wrecked anybody to win a race. I earned a ton of respect for Hamlin because he had the chance to wreck Eric Jones to grab that win. It would have meant a great deal to him because it advances him to the next round of the playoffs, gives him a chance to run the next two rounds, maybe trying to keep a certain driver whose last name has become a verb from getting to the next round, and he didn't do it. So I earned a lot of respect for Denny Hamlin by racing Eric Jones clean, and that has certainly been the exception rather than the rule when it comes to last lap and having a chance to win. So I got to say, I give props to Hamlin for running Jones clean at the end.
Yeah.
Okay. Extreme Dirt Racing. Okay. Hamlin did not win the race. Okay. That's the one everybody points to, and you're absolutely right. He wrecked Elliott, but he didn't win the race.
Same with
Hamlin has never wrecked anyone to win a race.
Same with
he did wreck Elliott, but didn't win the race.
Same with Pocono this year. He didn't win the race, so technically he didn't wreck Chastain for it.
Yeah. You are right. Your statement, Hamlin wrecked Elliott. He did, but he didn't win the race.
Still to make it better, but oh well.
Well, if you're Denny Hamlin, it does, because you can say, "I've never wrecked anybody to win a race." And what is going on with my freaking camera?
Probably someone on the lens or something. May have gotten like a fingerprint on there, something like
that. Wow. Anyway, all right. So
anyway,
let's move on. Racing news. So, Zach, take us through the racing news.
Absolutely. So our first little bit of news is going to be Bubba Wallace will run the 45 car for the remainder of the season in pursuit of an owner's championship. What are you guys' thoughts on this? Aaron, let's start with you.
I think Bubba Wallace is probably be your best guy right now. I mean, for the owner's championship, I completely agree. I think he has, of course, more experience with the team than Ty Gibbs does. You know, Ty Gibbs, I think, is the more talented driver of the bunch. But yeah, I mean, if you're going for an owner's championship and Kurt Busch is not available, then yeah, go ahead and put in Bubba Wallace. Let Ty Dillon kind of be in both rides to try and get him some experience. But yeah, I'm totally fine with this. I kind of wish he would have gotten in, but whatever.
What about you, Tom?
as a move to try to win the owners championship and all that goes along with that, this is not a big story. It's a logical move. It's a move that probably didn't require a lot of forethought. It's just kind of a no-brainer to put Bubba in that car to try to win the owners championship. What really, really gets me when I read this, though, and concerns me, is the way that it is presented. Bubba Wallace will run the 45 not until Kurt Busch returns, but for the remainder of the season. That sounds to me like Kurt Busch is not coming back at all this season. So if Kurt comes back with what they thought he'd come back in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever, they would have said until Kurt Busch returns. The fact they're saying for the remainder of the season, the longer this goes on, the more and more I am less concerned about playoffs and owners championship, and the more I am just concerned about Kurt Busch's health and his ability to recover and his life beyond NASCAR. So I just get more and more concerned for Kurt Busch the more I see and hear stories like this.
Absolutely. Yeah. I hope that's not the case. I think maybe, I don't know where I heard this from, but I think maybe the main reason why they would do it like this is because it might take Kurt Busch a bunch of races to get back into the swing of it. But I hope that is the case and that he's not going to be returning. So, and Bubba's on a tear recently. I mean, shoot, he has he holds a pretty good average finish recently. And yeah, I wouldn't want to go against him right now. That's for sure. 6th best, which turns into 4th over the past 6 races for all the full-time running cars. Next is going to be Dale Earnhardt Jr. describes the feeling of driving at North Wilkesboro. What is your thoughts on this, Tom?
Man, I want that feeling. I want to drive a race car at North Wilkesboro. I got to say, I don't think if Dale Earnhardt Jr. was not such an advocate for that track that it would have ever gotten back to racing. I don't think that they would have ever got it cleaned up to have iRacing scan it. I don't think that we would have got I don't know that he's politically involved, but I think that money that came from the North Carolina legislature where they allocated $10 million to various tracks to refurbish them. I don't know that money goes to North Wilkesboro. I don't know that there's as much interest in fan support. So I think it's great that he got that thrill because I think he was responsible more than anybody else individually for that track coming back. So glad he got to enjoy the fruits of his labor.
What about you, Aaron?
I mean, from what Dale has said, it sounds like the plan to rebuild and basically resuscitate North Wilkesboro has gone off without a hitch. It was a successful endeavor, and I'm so glad for that. Because say what you want about North Wilkesboro, say what you want about its NASCAR side and should NASCAR go here or not, forget all that for a moment. It's a track that has had a long history of racing turnout, be it on the local side, be it on the kind of the C&D mains, C&D series of bigger racing series. See it as where the kids of North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, can get into racing and see a track that was on basically death's doorstep being brought back to life. And one of the men responsible for trying to bring this back is a NASCAR legend in Dale Earnhardt Jr. That is just a epic success. And I saw the turnout of North Wilkesboro, the stands. If you took a picture of that today and took a picture of that from 1998, there is no difference. It is just as packed as it was back then. So I have to call this an absolute success for State Speedway, for Dale Earnhardt Jr., both, because it sounds like he is like absolutely beat up and tired in this video, in which I posted the link in the comment section right here, so y'all can go and see it. He is sweaty, he's tired, but it looks like he can go another 500 miles at North Wilkesboro if he had to. So Excellent job. It is great to see North Wilkesboro come back, even though I don't remember the race in my lifetime.
Absolutely. Could not be more happy. I can't wait. I'm hopefully going to get down there for a race when they're on next. Just iconic track. And yes, like Tom said, I'm so glad that Junior got to experience it himself in a race, all the fruits of his labor, like you said. So couldn't have said it better myself. But moving right along, NASCAR admits the next gen fires, multiple fires that has happened this season, are unacceptable and continues quest for solutions. What are your thoughts on this, Tom?
Okay, I'm going to back away from the computer because speaking of fires, my fans on my computer are going crazy, so you may hear a buzzing. Really, Captain Obvious, fires in cars are unacceptable. You think? You think really, Captain Obvious? Cars catching on fire for no reason are unacceptable. Gee, tell us something else we don't know, NASCAR. How about coming up with a better design? How about fixing this before we're 27 races into the season? How about fixing it before it's the playoffs and it can impact somebody's chance at winning a championship? How about doing better, NASCAR? I'm going to go back to a Kyle Busch quote from a few years ago when I can't remember who it was that was a back marker that he had a problem with. He said, we're supposed to be at the upper echelon of motorsports, and we got people out here who have never won a late model feature race. That's what you look like, NASCAR, as an organization with the problems you're having. You look like somebody who is supposed to be at the upper echelon of motorsports, and you can't keep your damn cars from catching on fire for no reason. Okay? Get your act together. Do something more than put out a statement that says it's unacceptable. So there.
Yeah.
What about you, Aaron?
Same sentiments. I mean, the last thing you want in a race car is a fire. That is the last thing that you want because again, you're basically just strapped into a basically a metal brick going at 200 miles an hour. And if a fire breaks out, you got all the equipment that you're strapped into. You got to get it off before you're set ablaze. And this isn't just a the car hit the wall, it broke something, and there's a fire came out. Okay, fine, whatever. But if a perfectly clean race car has not hit anything, not touched anything, all it did was run in a circle, it suddenly catches on fire. What the hell? Something has to be fucking done about this. Unacceptable. Yeah. Again, like what Tom said. No shit, Sherlock. Something has to be done here.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like they've known about this issue since it first happened. I think it really gained a lot of attention after Chris Buescher's incident. They tried something and clearly didn't solve the problem. It solved an issue, but it didn't solve the actual problem. This is dangerous. I mean, how quickly Kevin Harvick's car burnt is crazy to me. I mean, you think about it, that's not a lot of time to hop out. And NASCAR has to do a better job. And yes, take responsibility. Sure, that's the number one thing, but also find a solution quickly because this is not just a incident where we'll think of something at some point. This is something that you got to fix now. And you have the resources, and it's ultimately on you now because the teams are not allowed to do anything. So it's on you. So get it fixed and let's move forward.
I mean, right now you have these cars. They are so close to a complete overhaul at this point. Because if they're just randomly catching on fire and the drivers are getting hurt from just the smallest of hits, it sounds to me like this car, for all of its features, quote unquote, it's no more safer than the cars in the 90s. They're no more safer. hell, even the COT, for as bad as it looked, you take a look at Michael Morales hit at Texas, and he's able to get out fine with no serious injuries after that following. We have Kurt Busch. He smacks into a wall at relatively low speeds, and he's possibly out of NASCAR for the rest of the season. So this car is so damn close to a complete overhaul on how it's designed, how it's built, what parts you're getting. It is close to getting to that point, in my opinion.
Yep, very, very much so. And so our last news segment of the day, Richard Childress is reportedly could add a third charter if he does land Kyle Busch. What are you guys' thoughts on this, Tom?
All kinds of thoughts on this because there's, I think, all kinds of angles to look at here. One, a statement like that makes it sound like there is a chance that he lands Kyle Busch. That maybe there's been more discussions than what we know, and it's not just a theoretical what if thing for fans to discuss. Two, it tells me he also thinks that he's not going to release Tyler Reddick a year early since he's jumping ship to 2311, that he's going to keep Reddick around next year if he's looking at a third charter. Fourth, it makes it sound to me like this whole thing that I really thought that Kyle Busch would get things done with Joe Gibbs Racing, looking like that's probably getting less and less likely by the day. So I see all kinds of angles at this from Kyle Busch not driving a Toyota next year to Tyler Reddick still being in the RCR camp next year. So, yeah, I see all kinds of angles. It's very interesting.
What about you, Aaron?
I mean, it is interesting because if Richard Childress has really come out and said, yeah, we will open a third charter if Kyle Busch decides to come here, that means he's probably going to land at RCR. Of course, it's 2022. It's wild, crazy, chaos. Anything can happen at this point, but it sounds like RCR is prepared to go all in on Kyle Busch. I mean, if Busch goes to RCR, they can be a dangerous team next year. Because not only do you have Tyler Reddick, who's starting to really break out of his shell and be a contender, you have Kyle Busch still on point. He needs to find some luck somewhere. And Austin Dillon, who's bound to just win a race somewhere in a season. They're looking pretty dangerous for next season if they go there. So yeah, I mean it's going to get very interesting over RCR here pretty soon.
Yeah, I think this is interesting. I think Richard Childress Racing is really, kind of become the top option, in my opinion. But adding a third charter means that you're going to be spending upwards of 20, probably more, probably closer to 30 or $35 million on a charter that you're ultimately going to bring in a rookie. Means you're going to bring in a rookie in 2024 after Tyler Reddick moves on. And you also have several other teams that are vying for that charter or for another charter as well. And there's very limited charters to go around to begin with. So while I think it's a good idea, because you're going to be landing Kyle Busch, in theory, in reality, I don't see that happening because I don't see Richard Childress being able to, one, buy another charter for the asking price that teams are asking right now. But who knows? We'll see. But those are my thoughts on that. And that is the news.
We'll see. But I think that is a
great segue into our next segment.
Featuring a new segment of Get Your Show Tune Here. We will not say it. We will not play one because of copyright reason. To the new show on the channel, Where Will Kyle Busch Land? Featuring the Wheel of Destiny. The wheel is not to be criticized. What it says will be truth. It will be law. It will be the final word. As a quote from Mandalorian, this is the way. So, I think each of us will
I
kind of
have
go through.
spoken.
I have spoken. Yes. Do not peek. Do not peek behind the veil. Um, each of us three is going to kind of give our opinion on where former Candyman will land for the 2023 season, and then we will finally go to the Wheel of Destiny to see whether it will agree with us or go in a completely different direction. I think who wants to go first?
I can. Why not?
All right.
I think that he's going to go to Colleague Racing, and here is why. First of all, I think that Colleague will offer ownership stake, which is something that Kyle Busch, I think, values, because has always said that he wants his son to be able to climb the ranks, and so he wants to own the truck team. He wants to own his truck team until that point, right? Well, this gives him, if he does accept that and he does get ownership in Colleague, this gives him a path to Cup, as so long that Colleague stays in for how many ever years it takes, which is very likely, especially if Kyle Busch is on board. Colleague, on the other hand, has always said that they wanted to, or recently have said that they wanted to expand in a truck series, as a truck series team. What better way than to manufacture a relationship with Kyle Busch Motorsports to get that full development program from trucks, Xfinity to Cup? What a pipeline that would be if Colleague would be able to get that done. They have the money to support a truck team. They have the money to support their Xfinity team and Cup team. I think this mainly relies on whether or not their Colleague can become a primary partner with Chevrolet, similar to what Trackhouse and RCR are. So that way they're able to better compete on Sunday. We've seen that Colleague has the speed, specifically when AJ Allmendinger hops in that 16. Not just on road courses has he done well, particularly really well. He has shown some speed at other tracks as well. So 31 has kind of disappointed this season a little bit, in my opinion, but still is hanging in there in the top 25 in points. So when you bring all that together, I think that Colleague signs him up, gives Kyle Busch an ownership stake, and also, that. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Okay, so Tom, you want to make your pick, or do you want me to go next?
You go ahead and go, Aaron.
All right. So for my pick on where Mr. Candyman will land, I will say he will stay with Toyota, but not at Joe Gibbs. I'm going with 23XI for this reason. Toyota has said that they would hate to have Kyle Busch race against them. I think that's a very wise decision to keep Kyle Busch in your stable. I mean, he's already built basically a truck team around Toyota. He's driven for Toyota for the past, what is it, 14 years. Had amazing success with them. Plus, if he goes to 23XI, I think there could be a spot for him. Of course, it's not confirmed at all. I'm just going on speculation here. But if Kurt Busch decides to hang up the helmet, if he decides that, I may not be ready to come back to NASCAR, I don't know when I will be, but I know I will not come back next year, that leaves a seat open for Kyle Busch to come back. Because as Ty Gibbs said, he's not ready for Cup yet. But if that seat is open for 23XI, they're going to be begging Kyle Busch to come over there. He's already established himself over with Toyota for his truck team. It seems like just the best fit for him. Of course, Kurt Busch's decision may have to be discussed and debated, but to me, that's the best fit for him at this current state. He's still with Toyota. He can still kind of keep his alliance with Toyota there. Plus, He's teammates with Denny Hamlin, a guy he's been with for, Lord, I guess over 14 years now. So, to me, that's the best fit for him.
Okay, so that leaves it up to me, and I am saying that Trackhouse Racing is the best fit for Kyle Busch for a number of reasons. Okay, so let's look at the options and let's look at how everybody else compares to Trackhouse Racing. First, Trackhouse Racing has proven they will do whatever it takes to get to the top. They went out and bought Chip Ganassi Racing when Chip Ganassi Racing wasn't even for sale, okay? They will write that check to get whoever they want, whatever they want, whenever they want, okay? They went out and got a guy who was racing F1 last year to come over and race Watkins Glen in a one-off ride. They know how to think big. They know how to get things done in a hurry. They know how to elevate their game to the top level. And let's look at this, okay? So they've got the ability to write a check to get him, okay? They've got the ability to put him in a top-tier car. Both the Trackhouse cars have won races this year and are in the playoffs. I really think Matt Collick is going to put a great product out. But let's face it, their Cup program, I don't think is where Kyle Busch wants to be right now. They are not in the playoffs at all. They're not even, they're a mid-pack car or mid-pack team at best right now, and I don't think that's where Kyle Busch wants to go. I think he wants to step into a winner. I don't think he wants to go to 23-11 because I don't think he wants to be at a satellite team when he used to be the man at the team. So I don't think he wants to go there. I don't think he wants to go to Richard Childress Racing because, again, despite the fact that Tyler Reddick has won a couple of races, I don't think Childress is in the position to really say they are an elite level team. I think the only place that you can say there is an elite level team that has a potential opening for him is Trackhouse Racing. And they'll go buy a charter. They'll go fund the cars. They'll go do whatever because they got the deep pockets. Justin Marks knows how to think big. He knows how to build a winner. And let's face it, he must be a good salesman because he convinced Chip Ganassi to sell his whole NASCAR operation when Chip said it wasn't even for sale. So I am saying Trackhouse Racing is the best fit for Kyle Busch right now.
All right. All of us have made our predictions. Now we will let the Wheel of Destiny decide his fate. You're going to see RCR, Collick, 23XI, and Trackhouse all on the board, all on contention. Who will he go to? Wheel, take it away. And the wheel has decided Trackhouse Racing is where he will land. The wheel has spoken.
Spin it again. Spin it again.
All right. Well, the wheel's already spoken for Trackhouse. Just to spin again. Let's just see.
Hey, okay. I'll take that one.
All right, just for giggles here, will my pick even be remotely on there? Cool. All right. Made the wrong decision again. Thank you very much, Will, for your appearance. May your reign be long and endeavorous. The wheel has spoken.
There you go.
So we will now move on to who's hot and who's not. Zach, would you like to go first?
Sure. As far as my who's hot, who's not this week, I'm gonna go with who's hot, Austin Cindric. He finishes in an okay 16th place at Darlington. And thanks to other drivers' misfortunes, he only sits 2 points shy of advancing into the round of 12. He holds a 13.8 average finish in the past 6 races with 2 top 5s, 2 top 10s, and 5 top 20s. I would love to see him do better at Darlington, but he puts himself in a solid position to advance with solid results at both Kansas and Bristol coming up. As far as my who's not, I'm going to go with Chase Briscoe, who's had a horrid start who had a horrid start to the Southern 500 after falling a lap down and running in the 30s after starting 19th. He now sits 10 points shy of advancing into the round of 12 with an average of a 25th in the past 6 races. That record is good for second worst in that span, only to Cody Ware. He only has one top 20 in 6 races, and this will not help his chances of getting out of the round of 16. Those are my who's hot, who's not for this week.
All right, Tom, you want to go next?
Sure, I'll jump in. My who's hot for this week is going to be Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell has probably been the most consistent of the drivers in the Toyota camp. He came in with a cushion of 4 points above the cut line. He left with a cushion of 28 points above the cut line. They basically ran a fast, flawless, mistake-free race. They weren't spectacular. I don't know at any point that I would have said that they were a threat to win or they were the fastest car on the track, but they did what they had to do at Darlington. They came in and they raced the track first. And that's what you have to do everywhere, but it's never more true than at Darlington. And as a result, he's coming out of Darlington with a 28-point cushion above the cut line when he went in with a 24-point one. So my who's hot is definitely Christopher Bell. My who's not is definitely the next gen car, or I could say maybe it is hot because of the fires, but I'm going to say who's not is the car. We're 27 races into this, and between wheel and tire issues and complaints about drivers, about safety concerns, and catching on fire for no reason, I'm just saying this next gen car is a not. I'm saying it is who is not right now.
All right.
I will definitely have to agree with that. So for my who's hot or not this week, I'm going to break the rules here. I'm going to pick 2 for who's hot this week. For my first who's not, who's hot, I gotta go with Darlington finishes. Because what is more classic, what is more historic than a beat and bang battle towards the finish between 2 competitors or 3 competitors all fighting for that checkered flag? Nothing. Thank you. It's just one of those classic Darlington finishes, a finish that will last for a lifetime. Definitely that. And plus, I've already alluded to this before, but I got to reiterate that 44 Xfinity car. Oh my God, it was so good. It brought out all the feels for me just to see that old, red and blue and yellow number car again. Thank you, Ryan Ellis and that team. Thank you so much for bringing that back, because I'll be honest with you, I did not like Byron's version. I did not like it just because it just felt empty. It felt plain. It just did not look right. But Ellis, you did it right, sir. Thank you. I would send my hat to you, but I would knock my headphones off my head. But congratulations to you, sir. Thank you. You've won Pack Team of the Day. But for my who's hotter, I'm going with this, and Tom already alluded to, we've talked about it to death, but Kevin Harvick just suddenly catching on fire and then roasting NASCAR over the part situation, over this car, just basically just venting out all of his frustrations. And so that is for my who's hot and who's hotter for this week. It was just absolute chaos Sunday night, which I like, but I don't like it in that way.
All right.
So with that said, we will now move on to green flag or red flag with me, Sir Judge Aaron the First. I believe we got 4 prompts for you guys this week. Y'all know the drill. Green flag for yes, red flag for no. Let's get started. Number 1 for the night. We will see an 18th different winner this season. I feel like we're just like changing the number every single time we have this question on here. But the question is, will we see an 18th different winner this season? Green flag or red flag? Tom, we'll go with you first.
At this point, if you told me that we were going to see 25 different winners, I would probably vote yes. Just because it has been the most chaotic and crazy season. you look at it, I certainly think Martin Truex is capable of winning. I think Ryan Blaney is capable of winning. I think we've got a Talladega race coming up, which is going to be a complete wild card where anybody could win. So yeah, I think it's definitely within the possibility, and I'm going to say more than possibility, it's likely that we're going to get to 18 winners just because this has been such a crazy season. And with the way it's going, I could see Michael McDowell grabbing a win. I could see Chris Buescher grabbing a win. So yeah, I think 18 is not just possible but likely. I'm going green flag all the way.
All right, Zach, what say you?
Same thing. Yeah, green flag. I see Kevin Harvick and I'm sorry, not Kevin Harvick. Ooh, what am I saying? Martin Truex Jr. getting a win. I do definitely see Ryan Blaney getting a win. That would bring us, I think, to 20. Or close to 20. But there's also other races, and we still have a couple guys, fringe guys that you've yet had a win this season. So who knows? Like maybe Bubba Wallace.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna go green flag. I mean, just on the count of, I don't think NASCAR has seen 17 different winners in a season ever. So why not go for 18? We doubted at 13, we doubted at 14, we doubted at 15 and 16, and now 17 we doubted. I am going on the trend here and saying we will have an 18th different winner by the end of the season.
There you go.
So my verdict will be green flag. I agree with the both of you. It's going to happen this season. I can feel it. So for the next all right, so for the next case here, which championship contenders which championship hope wait
You got this.
I'm having a stroke up here. I'm sorry. Whose championship hopes took a bigger hit at Darlington? Kevin Harvick or Chase Elliott? Tom, what do you think, sir?
I don't think either one of them are going to be eliminated this round, but I certainly think Harvick's took a bigger hit. If you look at the point situation, you've got let me pull it up here. You've got Chase Elliott as still being 14 points, I think, above the cut line, while Harvick is actually sitting in dead last 13 points below the cut line. When you look at that also coming into Kansas, Chase Elliott has got a sixth place or finished better in 3 of the last 4 Kansas races. Kevin Harvick is strong there too. But I just think right now that Kevin Harvick is sitting in last place. It's not just that he's got to make up 13 points. He's got to make up 13 points and pass 3 people. So I am definitely saying that Harvick is the one who took a bigger hit in the championship hopes.
All right,
Yeah.
so you will go red flag with that. All right. Zach, same question.
Yeah, definitely. Kevin Harvick here. He's dead last. He's double-digit points out of the top 12. So yeah, I got to go with Harvick. Although Elliott finishing dead last, he had that points cushion, like I mentioned earlier. Now he's only like 10 points from getting kicked out of the round of 12. So definitely have to be worried for him. But definitely, I think it was Kevin Harvick. He had such a good race going. He'd finished inside the top 5 in several Darlington races back to back, at least the very least top 10. Very good racetrack for him. And ultimately, he comes home with not enough points to even be considered for getting into the next round.
Okay. For me, I'm going to have to go with, honestly, Chase Elliott for this. Because Elliott had such a huge points lead going into the first round. It was practically guaranteed he was going to be going in. All he needed to do was just survive the first 3 races. Now he is very mortal, and if another engine problem comes up again, or if he wrecks out, or something happens to him, he is on the outside looking in at where else but Bristol, where he may have to face a certain somebody again at Bristol last year. So I got to go Chase Elliott because he went from basically a guaranteed, move on to it's looking pretty bad for him. I mean, unless he has another screw up, but just that feeling of confidence is just stripped away. It's just gone for Elliott, so I have to go with Elliott for championship hopes took a bigger hit.
All right.
So, all right. Number 3 of the night, and I will try to say this correctly again. Which championship contender had the better night? William Byron or Christopher Bell? Zach, we'll start with you for this time.
Excuse me. William Byron or Christopher Bell? Man, they both had such a good night, but I gotta go with William Byron. Right now he's sitting 6 points back from Joey Logano from the top spot. This is a race where he was leading earlier this year and got taken out, and ultimately didn't have the finish where he really wanted to. So you could say it was somewhat expected, but he still did his job. And from where he was in the standings to get to second place, 6 points back from the lead, I gotta say William Byron.
Okay, Tom, what do you think?
This one is tough. They both had phenomenal nights. William Byron came in 7 points above the cut line, left Darlington 32 points above the cut line. Christopher Bell came in 4 points above the cut line, left 28 points above the cut line. They both had phenomenal nights. William Byron even thought he had an engine issue, but apparently it was just something in the exhaust causing the car to make a different noise, but the engine apparently was fine. Right. I'm going to give the slight edge to William Byron simply because he got a stage win. And that stage win carries with it, I believe, another point, doesn't it, when they reset for the round of 12, doesn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, because I thought you still could accumulate playoff points with stage wins in the playoffs. I'm not sure, but I'm going with William Byron because he got a stage win.
Okay.
All right.
And for my degree, I'll have to go also with William Byron, not just for the fact that I guess he's safer in the playoff standing, considering he's like 32 points above it, but just the fact that think about where he's kind of been the last few months. He's been nowhere to be found for the most part. And now that you're sitting second in the point series standings, you had a great car all night long. Probably the best car he's had probably since, I think, Atlanta or Martinsville, the last time he's actually won a race. I feel that has something. I feel like that will boost his confidence even more going into Kansas. I mean, I'm surely he's got to be feeling pretty confident about it. It's like, okay, well, I'm not out of this quite yet. But yeah, I'll have to go with Byron for this one. I think he had the better night, even though Christopher Bell also had a really good night. I gotta go with Byron just because of the confidence. All right, and last green flag, red flag question of the night. Ross Chastain is still a championship contender after 7 straight sub-top 15 finishes. Green flag or red flag, Zach? What do you think?
I gotta say green flag. I'm sorry. Hold on. Red flag. Excuse me. He is not a championship contender right now. In my opinion, when you look at it, everything that he has done over the past even like 15 races is really just gone downhill. They have absolutely no momentum. Issues within the team as far as mechanical issues and driver issues and on-track issues, just not going his way. I don't think you can say that right now that he could be. I don't think that you could say that he could be in the championship 4, in my opinion. And then this is on top of all the issues that he's had with people on track this season. So, yeah, I don't think you could say that he's a championship contender this year. Because I don't see him making the championship 4.
Okay, Tom, what do you think?
I'm going to have to agree. Ross Chastain has had quite a year. Has done more than anyone I think expected Trackhouse Racing to do. But they seem to be off their game right now, and they're not off by a little bit. Okay, 7 straight sub top 15. Some of those were mechanical issues. Some of those were wrecks. Combine that with the fact that I don't think there is any driver other than his teammate that wants to see him in the championship four. So yeah, I'm going to say he's not going to make it. That they are not a championship contender. Much as it pains me to say that, but I'm going to have to say red flag, not a championship contender.
Okay, and for my final decree of the night, this court finds both Zach and Tom absolutely correct. I will have to say Ross Chastain is not a championship contender. It just seems like Ross has just really lost that mojo that he had throughout the beginning of the summer stretch. He's not really up front racing anymore. The only reason why the cameras are panning towards Ross Chastain is because he's near a driver and he might he might make another rivalry with somebody. And he damn near did with Blaney early on in the race. Besides that, not really too much to talk about with Ross Chastain. I mean, Suarez is looking really good for Trackhouse, but Chastain has it feels like he's kind of one to now fall off the face of the earth. So yeah, this court will find Zach and Tom absolutely correct in this, and that will conclude tonight's green flag or red flag questions. Thank you all for participating. All right, that will lead us to our
race predictions.
Kansas predictions. All right. I guess I'll just go ahead and go first. For my pick, I'll pick Young Money, Kyle Larson to win it. Very nearly could have won it last year. If it weren't for just a dominating run by Kurt Busch, he possibly could have won Kansas. But over the last, I believe, 5 races he has raced there, he's gotten a win, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, and is just absolutely poised to get there again. 351 laps led for Young Money. And so I've got to give it to Mr. Larson. For my dark horse, I will go with, as we have dubbed him on the show, Brad Kozorexky. The last 7 races, he has 1 win, 4 top 5s, 4 top 10s, 7 top 20s, 124 laps led, average start of 8.1. That's over the last 7 races that Kozlowski has ran there. Numbers looking pretty good. He got a 7th place finish last week at Darlington. And so I got to feel that confidence will kind of drive him to do better at Kansas. So those are my 2 picks.
All right. Is it my turn?
You're on.
Go ahead, Zach.
All right. I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin as my pick to win. 7.7 average finish over the past 7 races at Kansas. He has 2 wins, 4 top 5s, and 4 top 10s in that span. When you look at the last 40 races in the intermediate category, Hamlin holds a 10.5 average finish with 8 wins, 17 top 5s, and 22 top 10s. So I think that he could get it done at Kansas just based on a stat wise, but also Toyota has been very, very good. When you look at the race earlier this year, pretty much all of the Toyotas were in the top 10. As far as my dark horse, and I know we're going to switch it up a little bit as far as a dark horse, maybe not, I don't know. I want to include anybody that's out or in the cutoff as dark horses as well, because we're getting to a point where it's realistically I don't think we're going to get another winner besides maybe Ryan Blaney and Martin Truex Jr. But anyway, regardless, my dark horse is going to be Martin Truex Jr. because he's not won yet this season. I think he finally breaks through and gets it done at Kansas. When you look at the stats, he holds a 8th place average finish in the past 7 races at Kansas with 1 top 5 and 6 top 10s. So he's finished inside the top 10 at Kansas all but one time. And then when you look at the past intermediates, he holds an 11th place average finish over the past 40 starts. 3 wins, 11 top 10s, and 11 top 5s and 23 top 10s. So I think that he'd get it done.
Okay. All right, Tom.
All right, so
Choose your horse.
I am saddling up and I am riding the closer, Kevin Harvick. That is going to be my pick to win. Last 4 Kansas races, 2 second places and a third. And let's face it, the man is hot right now. He won the last 2 non-plate tracks coming into the playoffs and had a great car, had worked his way through the pack twice at Darlington before he literally caught on fire. So I really think that Kevin Harvick is the man. He's ran well at Kansas. They seem to have got this next gen car figured out a little bit. He's called the closer for a reason. It's money time. It's the playoffs. It's time for that veteran presence to show up. So I am saying Kevin Harvick is my guy. Dark horse. If it had not already been taken, I would have taken Brad Keselowski. Okay. Because not only did he have all the things you said, Aaron, but also he's coming off a 7th place finish at Darlington, which I think is his best run of the year. So they may be starting to figure something out too. But since that is taken, I will take Ricky Stenhouse Jr., probably the best of the non-A class drivers or favorites. He was 8th there in the spring. He has a habit of running very well with this next-gen car at the bigger tracks. It seems like at the bigger tracks, he is just a little bit better than Michael McDowell and Chris Buescher at the smaller tracks. Chris Buescher definitely seems like the best of the non-tier top tier drivers. But I am saying Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is going to be my dark horse, and Kevin Harvick is going to be my favorite.
There you go.
All righty. And as always, if you are picking your fantasy drivers based on our predictions, we advise that you don't. We have a track record of cursing these drivers. Take, for example, my last year's picks with Suarez and him being basically the first driver out of the contest. So, don't. All right, so we did this last week. Zach and I did our little experiment here to see which drivers will be the first 4 drivers eliminated from the playoffs. For those of you who need a refresher, I had picked Dillon, Bowman, Cindric, and Briscoe as my first 4 eliminated. Zach, pretty much the same with me, but instead of says Cindric, he went with Suarez as the first driver eliminated, as one of the first 4 drivers eliminated from the chase. But with Tom being out last week, we did not get his first 4. So with Tom, since you are here, who are you picking as your first 4 eliminated?
Well, I got to say, I feel like this is a little bit like an open book test for me, since I got to see the Darlington race, and I got to make my pick after one of the playoff races. But I am actually, I think, I'm mirroring Zach's pick. I got Suarez, Cindric, Dillon, and Briscoe all being eliminated in the first round. I think Kevin Harvick, he's pretty good at Kansas, as we saw. He's pretty good at Bristol, as we saw last year. So I think he can overcome that 13-point deficit. Cindric, honestly, has just not shown me much since the Daytona 500. Briscoe, I don't think, has shown me much since his win at Phoenix. Austin Dillon hasn't honestly shown me that much all year. And Daniel Suarez, I just feel like, although he's running better than his teammate, I just feel like he doesn't have enough. He doesn't have tracks that favor him, and he's got too much of a hill to climb. Even though he's only 2 points out, he's got Kyle Busch right above him that I think is going to run well, and I think Kevin Harvick's going to run well and make that hill a little bit tougher to climb. So I am going Daniel Suarez, Austin Cindric, Austin Dillon, and Chase Briscoe as being my 4 out in the first round.
All right.
Cindric, and I'm sorry, who's your 4th driver?
Briscoe, the 2 Austins, and Daniel Suarez.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so basically, you kind of just essentially just took bits of ours and just kind of put them on there. So that's really neat, kind of interesting. All right, so there are Tom's first 4 eliminated.
Oh, great minds. We all think alike.
That is true. That is true. All right, and I believe that will bring us to the white flag segment. Give us your parting gifts in the comment section down below. So, who wants to go first on this?
I get. Go ahead, or go ahead, Tom.
I got a lot to say here. Okay. For anybody who doesn't know, Monday I had a heart attack. I was at the gym working out and started feeling pain and tightness in my chest. Went to the ER. They immediately hooked me up to an EKG machine. Within about 2 minutes of being there, the doctor hooks it up, looks at me, and says, "You are having a heart attack right now. You need to go to a bigger hospital that has a cath lab. Where do you want to go? We're calling a helicopter." Um, I can't begin to describe to you how serious it was. The heart attack was I got 100% blockage in a artery of the heart, known as the Widowmaker, because that's that serious. About 12% of the people who have that survive it. So to say that I am lucky and thankful to be here would be an understatement. I am overwhelmed with the number of people who were praying for me. I am overwhelmed with the number of healthcare people who just worked their butts off to save my life that morning, from the ER staff to the people on the life flight helicopter to the people at the cath lab when I landed at the bigger hospital. It is overwhelming. It is humbling. All I can say is thank you, and I feel like there should be bigger or more important words to convey this amount of gratitude. The person I need to thank the most is the good Lord above, because everything had to go exactly as it did for me to be here today, from going to the ER to the doctor being so attentive. If I came in and that doctor was on a smoke breaker in the bathroom, or the life flight helicopter had already picked somebody up and I had to wait on them to drop them off, or they already had somebody in the cath lab, anything went down a slightly different path, and I am not here talking to you today. And if you can't see God's hand in that, a blind person could see God's hand in that. So I am just overwhelmed by all of it. I am so thankful to everybody, and like I said, I just wish I could come up with better words than saying thank you to everybody. I've been so emotional. I have cried so many times this week. I feel like in just a few short hours, I received a lifetime's worth of blessings. So and I'm so thankful to everybody associated with this show, from my co-hosts to the viewers to the people who tune into my channel, that all were praying for me and have reached out to me and have wished me well. And it just struck me how fragile life is. At 7:45, I was dropping my son off to school, thinking about the meetings I had planned for the day, and headed to the gym. And it couldn't have been a more normal routine day. At 9 o'clock or 9:30, whatever time was roughly, they were shocking me with a defibrillator. They had to shock me on 2 different occasions, 3 times each with it. My heart was, I won't go into all the details. I already made this too long, but yeah, they had to shock me with the defibrillator 6 times. And then by 12:30, I was out of the cath lab. I had a stent in the artery. Everything was opened up. I was feeling great. I was responding to text messages and Facebook messages, and it was just surreal how fragile life was, that it went from so normal to almost not being here to here I am just a few hours later, sitting here responding to people's messages. Um, I don't know what to make of this. I think there is a reason I'm still here. I'm still trying to figure out whether that is to be a father to my children or if it is that plus something else. But I'm doing my best to figure out what the reason is that the good Lord decided to keep me around. But I just want to say such a heartfelt thank you to everybody. And if I wasn't able to respond to you, I apologize. One of the blessings is there were just so many people praying for me and commenting and texting me and reaching out. I can't possibly thank them all, and that in and of itself is just a huge blessing. But that I just want to say, express my gratitude and just just give you all such a heartfelt thank you for everything you've done for me. All right, that's it.
Absolutely. My white flag is that I'm so happy and blessed that you made it through, Tom. Don't know what we would do without you. Um, not only as a friend, but also on this show. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. Just super blessed and happy to see your face. I think one of the main things when my parents had their horrific accident, one of the things that stood out to me was um, my mom had a trach tube in for and was in a coma for several weeks. And when she got out of it and she mustered enough strength to finally speak again, I didn't realize it at the time, but when I heard her voice, I broke down in tears because you don't realize uh, you don't realize in that moment what that means to you, right? Being able to see and talk to the people that you love. So I appreciate your friendship and so glad that we're able to see you.
Absolutely. Life is granted in an instant. Life is built up, but life can be taken in an instant. Um, take it from me. I've been to 4 funerals over the last 2 years, and it it is. I mean, I was on vacation Monday morning, and I that day I didn't want to get out. I didn't want to do anything besides just constantly text people that you are that that are surrounding you, and for a constant update. It's like is he okay? Is he okay? What's going on? Please just give me anything to go off of, because I was so worried that I may have lost a friend. I may have lost one of my best friends, and I I cannot thank the good Lord above enough that you're here now, and it sounds like you're going to be a-okay. So
Yeah. One other thing I want to say is I've gained so much perspective and learned so much through all this. But one of the things I learned is when you hear people say the phrase that somebody's fighting for their life, I want to give a huge, huge shout out to all the healthcare workers that worked on me. And if there's anybody in this audience that is watching this or seeing this as a healthcare worker, a big thank you to you. One of the things I learned in all this is that is a misused phrase, fighting for your life. Because let me tell you, when I walked in that emergency room and told them I had chest pain, from that point forward, I was along for the ride. There was no great struggle going on. I mean, I wanted to live. I wanted to live more than anything, but all I could do was pray and respond to their commands. I wasn't fighting for my life. They were the ones fighting for my life. And there were so many of them. There were literally dozens of people that worked their butts off that day so that I could be here today. So, I learned that one of the phrase fighting for your life is a misused phrase. You're not fighting for your life in that situation. It's the healthcare workers that are fighting for your life. So a huge thank you to them specifically. And if there's anybody in this audience that is a healthcare worker, I'm sure you have played a role in saving people's lives along the way. So I want to give an extra special shout out and thank you to any healthcare workers that are seeing this.
absolutely. And of course, all the people in the chat wishing Tom well, thank you so much for it. Um, he means a lot to so many people, especially me and Zach. He means a lot to us, not only as a co-host, but as just a good friend to talk to, a good friend to race with, a good friend to just hang out with. So the good Lord gave you and us a great blessing, and you still being here. So all thanks to him for that.
For sure.
Absolutely.
But with that said, I think that will be the show for this evening, guys. What do you think?
I think
so.
that's a good ending. Yep.
All right. So catch us live back here next week, Tuesday, 9 p.m., as we will kind of break down all of the latest happenings from Kansas Speedway in round 2 of the Cup playoffs. See what kind of more mayhem this year has in store for us. So far, it has not run out of ideas, and we will see kind of what mayhem it can bring for us next week. So thank you all so much for watching. Have fun, be safe, and if you're experiencing any chest pains at all, please do not hesitate. Go to your hospital, get it checked out immediately, because as Tom can attest to, that's not something you want to play around with.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Y'all take care. Enjoy your night, and we'll see y'all here next week.
Be safe.